Alright, hello everyone, welcome to my Capstone Part 2 video here today. In this video I'll be covering St. Thomas Aquinas' arguments on the existence of God, along with my personal reflection as to where I stand after learning about all this information that I've gathered for you today, along with what I've learned through all of these arguments that in theology this year. So in total, Aquinas gives us 5 total arguments that, kind of testify the existence of God and what makes us want to, dive deeper into what he's trying to say. But this year in theology class, we've only covered 4, and the one I'll be talking about today is the 4th argument, which is called the graduation of being that Aquinas has stated. So in total, there's 3 premises. The first premise states that some things are better or worse off than others, and that things can be ranked according to goodness. So for an example of this, we might say that one student is more knowledgeable than another, or even that one athlete performs at a higher level than someone else. I'll touch on the athlete portion of this in this video a little bit later. But also the second premise states that ranking things accurately requires reference to the othermost case. When we say something is better, we compare it to the highest possible standard. If we don't have this highest possible standard, then we can't really rank these things, so it makes it harder. Third premise builds on the second a little bit, the second premise, saying that only the maximum in a given category of perfection can cause other things in that category. So if things can possess this goodness and truth that, all kind of search for different degrees of perfection, then in the end there will be something that is maximally good for them, but also maximally true for them. So inclusion to all these premises altogether, the perfections of all these things must be created by some most perfect being, and this is who we call God. And God is considered to be the highest good, in that which nothing greater can be thought of.
Say, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right.
Now, kind of the big question in all of this is, where do I stand in this argument that Aquinas gives us? Personally, I believe that every human in the world observes, things through their own eyes. We are able to seek these various levels of perfection, whether it may be through sports, in the classroom, in our academic fields, or even in job lives, which I have right now, and I think everyone in the world has a job as well. So, the perfection of a thing is always in reference to the essence of that thing. Sounds weird, I know. But who is this so-called being truly want to be? An example that we brought up in class, I kind of want to go about it to show my understanding of this argument, is the greatest of all time debate. And I'll do it specifically in the world of basketball. So in an argument, when people argue or are trying to prove a point of why they think this certain player is the greatest of all time, they lean towards kind of describing their level of skill, work ethic, leadership, and overall achievements. These people are ultimately setting like a standard for what they think that the perfect basketball player might be. If they believe this one player is closer to reaching their peak of perfection than the other player, they're considered the better player on the court. Seems reasonable. For real life, obviously, Michael Jordan has won 6 championships. LeBron James only has 4. Does this mean Jordan is the GOAT? People might argue that. Now, Aquinas highlights reason as the guiding principle of man. According to a Gordian knot article that I researched about, if somehow this maximally good and maximally existent, maximally perfect being failed to exist, there would be no such thing as goodness, truth, or even perfection. And that in the end there will always be a maximum, or aka a perfect standard, and the being who is the cause of all of our perfections is God. So putting all of Aquinas' arguments together now, we can argue but also analyze that because the universe is always changing at any time, that there should be this necessary being who presents this idea that Aquinas gives us also pure act, or also called existence itself as well. So the word necessary, what does that mean? From our theology course this year, it means incontingent, and that this existence is an essential property of this thing, and that there is no participation whatsoever. God is above or beyond good and evil, or aka all of this creation that we are, upon in this earth here today. This does mean that God is not the universe. He cannot be the universe. So this rejects the idea of pantheism. So through Aquinas' pure act and the Aristotelian concept of the efficient cause of existence, God can be understood as this ultimate source of existence, who possesses this unlimited power, knowledge, and goodness. So back in our couple units about learning about the problem of evil and the God, we learned 3 omni terms. So God is considered omniscient if he is all-knowing, meaning he should know about evil. He's considered omnipotent if he is all-powerful, and that he should want to stop evil. He should be able to stop evil. And finally, he can be considered omnibenevolent, which means all good, meaning he should want to stop this evil. But in the end, God is not this being, like I just said, within the universe, but instead he's this necessary sustaining cause of existence itself. And it seems to me that he is more personal than this impersonal force. Regarding Aquinas' 4th argument that I talked about earlier in this video, God is considered good through all these through the maximum of all of our imperfections. So now we come to this part in the video where I'm just going to give my personal reflection, also my opinion on the Aquinas arguments, and also where I stand on the nature of God itself. So first, these arguments from Aquinas have impacted me because they're making me believe that God is more of a philosophical necessity rather than just this personal being that we usually see him, or what most people think, as this person who just cares for us humans today and wants us to preach the good news. I agree and acknowledge that all 5 of these arguments aim to, question God's true belief and identity, obviously his existence itself, but I'm still unsure about whether or not this makes it necessary. I think some of these arguments seem convincing and solid, but while the others to me, are missing a key piece for me to just understand God's true existence. But finally, after learning about all these arguments together, I do believe God exists as this necessary and uncaused being, and that I believe that he is this ultimate source of reality. And I do think that Aquinas' arguments seem more like a philosophical explanation for existence rather than just, kind of just explaining to us why God is just this rational, willing self and this rational being that, we all, want him to be, but also what we all think he is. But in the end, these arguments help me view God differently, but I'm still trying to figure out what God is to me, like what he looks like for me in my vision. Thank you all for watching.